Hello everybody, this is our first screencast. I am going to go ahead and record section 1 lecture to see how this screencast exactly works and to see how effective and helpful it is. So please be prepared to give me feedback so we can see if this is something that we could do on a regular basis. So without further ado, let's see what we're going to go over today. In section 1, we're going to go over understanding supply. At the end of this lecture, students will be able to 1. Explain the law of supply, 2. Create and interpret a supply graph based on a supply schedule, and 3. Explain the relationship between elasticity of supply and time. So, the law of supply. According to the law of supply, suppliers will offer more of a good at higher prices. When prices go up, suppliers will produce more of that good. On the flip side of that coin though, if prices start to fall, suppliers will offer less of that good. They will produce less of that good as prices start to decrease. Let's look at a visual to see if this makes a little bit more sense. As prices increase, quantity supplied at that price, quantity supplied at any given price will increase with price increase. Price falls. If price falls, quantity supplied at those prices will also fall. Again, as prices start to increase, the quantity supplied at that price will also increase. If prices start to fall, the quantity supplied at those prices will also start to fall. Producers will produce more at higher prices, and producers will produce less at lower prices. So how exactly does the law of supply work? Well, first, let's make sure we understand some of the key vocabulary of this section. Economists use the term quantity supplied to describe how much of a good is offered for sale at a specific price. Again, in economics, the term quantity supplied is used to describe how much of a good is offered for sale at a specific price. With that being said, as price starts to fluctuate up or down, your quantity supplied at each one of those prices will also fluctuate. There are two major factors that come together to create the law of supply. The first one is the promise of increased revenue when prices are high. This encourages firms to produce more. As prices start to go up, producers feel they can make more profits. That adds incentive for them to produce more of their goods. The second part is rising prices will draw in new firms into the market. This will also make the quantity supplied of that good increase. So again, when prices start to go up, people that are already in the market, businesses that are already in the market will produce more because they can make more profits. The second part is as prices start to increase, as prices start to go up, new people will enter the market that did not enter it before because now they can make some profit that they might not have been able to make at a lower price. If you think about what we did on Friday with our activity with 3 student volunteers that were producing t-shirts. The first student was able to produce a t-shirt for $3. If we sold the t-shirts for $5 a pop, that person, student 1, wanted to produce t-shirts because they were making a $2 profit for every t-shirt that they sold. But as prices started to increase, and now we can sell those t-shirts for $10 a pop, student 1 wanted to produce more. Student 1 wanted to expand their production, to produce more, because now instead of only making $2 a shirt, they're making $7 a shirt. That is the first principle in action. Increase revenues, add incentive to produce more. In that activity, we had a second student that wanted to join the market at $10 a shirt because now they can make a little bit of money in this market. Student 2, it cost them $7 to produce a shirt. But at $10, they can make a $3 profit. So they joined the market. When the shirts were being sold at $5, they weren't going to make any money, so they did not join the market. But as prices started to go up, they decided to join. That is the second principle in action. New firms join the market as prices go up because now they feel they can compete and make a profit. Hopefully you were there Friday and what I just said made sense. If not, maybe I can go over it again in class. So we're going to talk about supply schedules. A supply schedule is very similar to a demand schedule. They look the same. Data will be a little bit different. A market supply schedule is a chart that lists how much of a good all suppliers will offer at different prices. Let's take a look at a supply schedule. This supply schedule is an example of pizza. If you notice, at each individual price, the quantity supplied changes. Again, at each individual price, the quantity supplied changes. At 50 cents, quantity supplied is 1,000 slices of pizza per day. But as price starts to increase up to $3, more pizza production is used and more people are joining the market. So quantity supply goes up. At $3, 3,500 slices of pizza per day are now being produced because more people feel it's worthwhile to produce pizza. They're selling at $3 a pop, so you might as well join the market and make some money. If we take our data from the supply schedule and plot it on a graph, we will produce a supply curve. A market supply curve is a graph of the quantity supplied of a good by all suppliers at different prices. Here is a supply curve based on the supply schedule of the pizza we just looked at the previous slide. At 50 cents a slice, 1,000 slices of pizza will be produced a day. As price starts to go up, more people are willing to produce more pizza and more producers are starting to join the market. As price starts to go up to $2.50 to $3, you have a lot more people willing to produce pizza because they feel they have incentive to do so. They can make more money by selling the pizza at higher prices. As price goes up, quantity supplied also goes up. Let's take the last bit of our time to talk about elasticity of supply. Elasticity of supply is a measure of the way quantity supplied reacts to a change in price. If supply is not very responsive to changes in price, it is considered inelastic. Again, if supply is not very responsive to changes in price, if it's not responsive to changes in price, it is considered inelastic. If supply is very sensitive to change in price, it is elastic. So if supply is very sensitive, if it's very responsive to changes in price, it is elastic. Try to remember what we talked about when it comes to rubber bands. Rubber bands are elastic. They're very sensitive to pressure changes. They stretch, they move, They adapt. If something is not responsive, it is inelastic. If that rubber band is stiff, if it's old, if it's frozen, it's not going to be responsive. That is inelastic. Make sure you guys can identify the difference between inelastic and elastic. One more time before I move on. If supply is very responsive, it is elastic. If supply is not very responsive, it is inelastic. The major factor in elasticity of supply is time. In the short run, a firm cannot easily change its output, its production level. So in that sense, supply is inelastic in the short run. If you remember the activity we did on Friday, if there is a new influx of people that want that good, if people want that good very quickly, it is very, very, very hard, and sometimes, most of the time, impossible for suppliers to magically start to produce more of a good immediately. There's a lot of things that need to go in to that production. They need to hire more workers. They need to buy more equipment. They need to buy more materials to produce those goods. So that means, in the short run, most, if not all, supply is inelastic because it takes time in order to respond to an increase of supply. In the long run, firms are more flexible. So supply can become elastic over time. If those goods are in demand and people want them, people are willing to pay more for them. In the long run, suppliers will be able to respond to that demand, respond to that influx of supply because they have time to hire workers. They have time to order more supplies. They have time to get more equipment to produce more of their goods. So in the short term, supply is inelastic because suppliers need time to respond. In the long run, products supply can become elastic because they have time to respond to hire more workers and to get the things they need to in order to produce more goods. Alright, that is the last portion of our Section 1, Understanding Supply. Hopefully this is helpful, and hopefully you can re-listen to some of the things that might be confusing and have some clarification. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night.